Okay, ita Mexicanatani, good morning. It is the late AM of Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, in the lunar cycle Okonokisto Tsitsitzbi, when the Saskatoon berries ripen. And I'm coming to you this morning from the very dry, wide South Pool of Spopikimi. Prematurely dry, in my opinion. It always gets like this toward end of summer, but not quite this. I mean, we are in August, but this feels like more September dry to me already. I don't know. There's still a lot of greenery, but the water level's really low, hey? It's exposing all kinds of good stuff. Like for me, I'm able to access mint, more mint than I would normally be able to access easily. I'm able to get at some of the pockets of sneezeweed, which mostly grow on the islands, out in the middle of the pond. But now I can just walk to the islands, and in some of these cases, pick some of the flowers. The almost mature sneezeweed flowers are the best, right? Apparently, I'm going to give this plant a try for its medicinal purposes again this year. I've tried it before in previous seasons, and what you're supposed to do is pick those almost mature flowers. I mostly end up with mature ones, but don't get them when they're, when they're not at their prime, and dry them out and ground them into a powder. And it's supposed to be able to use that as kind of like a snuff for when you have colds and headaches and this kind of a thing. I tried it against some of my allergies the other year, and sniffing sneezeweed is quite an experience, eh? I mean, there's a good burning associated with it. I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna wait for a good occasion when I'm just dying and, having a little pain won't bother me as much as the cold already does, right? That kind of situation. But yeah, I'm able to access stuff out here that I wouldn't normally be able to easily access without wading through the water. And like I say, the herons are already here. The ducks and stuff are making good use of this opportunity to access some of the underwater, the milfoil and stuff like that that otherwise they'd have to be kind of dipping or diving a little lower for. But the mallards, they don't really do that, so they gotta feed where they can feed. That knocking sound you hear is not a woodpecker. Some kind of construction crew up on the bridge. Yeah, I've been coming out visiting Spopikimi pretty much daily for the last little while. I think I just need it for my mental health. I need to be out here, But there's also a part of it that's like a torture for me because there is an absence out here, without having Mahoney around with me. However she feels about me, like I didn't imagine a day when she would cut communications with me entirely. I thought we would still be walking out here until our old age, and we might be, but right now things might just be too tense. I don't know. But yeah, I have to get out here for maybe an hour a day, 2 hours, not only to see what's going on out here nature wise, but just to do my thinking. And today I figured I'd share some of my thinking while giving a little update while visiting the pond here. It's getting warm already though. It's going to be another hot one. This is what I'm concerned about. The water's already this low, and we're only at the beginning of August. We've still got a couple of months of just solid sun roasting coming to us here. So I imagine by the end of summer, this place is going to be pretty freaking dry, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, as the heat's coming on, I think I'll transition into the forest and come back at you there. So I had a pretty cool experience yesterday. In the morning, I got a call through the Rattlesnake line from that same property owner up top of Bridge Drive, where I broke up the rattlesnake orgy a week or so ago. And sure enough, there was another snake back at his tires. So if you remember, we had the snake orgy that involved 4 rattlesnakes, one of whom was missing his tail. And then I brought those snakes down to the den site area. Then like 2 days later, the biggest of those snakes returned up to that property, same place, back at the tires. And that one, looking at the different names proposed, I think I'm gonna call him Attica, the really big one, which has to do with striking, right? So Attica, because man, he's a bitey snake, and he's huge. That's you know, the first snake I'm kind of a little bit scared of, like, because gauging his strike range is difficult, you know. And I know my tools. Yeah, it is a heavy snake, right? So even lifting him is you know, at the end of a 3-foot pole is interesting. I might try, if I encounter him again, try using 2 tools at once, you know, one for either side of his body, kind of a thing. But any case, yeah, Attica showed up 2 days later, and then the day after there was another snake that showed up there, a 5th snake, but that snake was different. Wasn't any of the 4, so it was actually a 5th snake. Anyway, yesterday morning, I go back there. There's another snake at the tire pile, and this one is the one with no rattle. So the rattleless snake came back. It took, rather than like 2 days, I think it took like 5-6 days to get back up there. Or it might have just been there and not been found, although Buddy's keeping a pretty close eye on that tire pile these days. So yeah, that's 2 of 4 snakes that have made their way back up, and I've brought them right back down. So we'll see what happens from here. Rattlesnake, I think I'm gonna call Silent Bob. So Silent Bob of the Bridge Drive rattlesnakes. It is pretty cool that they can make their way up there to that property and not end up out on the road and be as old as they are, these snakes that are going back to that guy's place. These are old snakes. These are not young bucks, eh? These guys have lived a long time, and they've lived while that road there was a highway, was the main thoroughfare for quite some time. And then, like, more recently it's just been Bridge Drive, kind of a scenic access down to the highway. But yeah, it's pretty cool that they don't get squished on the road. They must just know by now to keep off. Yeah, so that's been my snake experience of the past couple days that I haven't reported yet. Other than that, you know, the small mammal stuff, yeah, I moved a couple of skunks. This morning I had a raccoon, and this one was back in the Heritage neighborhood, just a couple blocks down from Mahoney, same street, and where I've been catching skunks, yeah. And the other day, something had made its way into the trap, grabbed the egg that I put in as bait, and got out of the trap without getting caught. And the back of the trap was kind of bent, and I thought, oh, that looks like, you know, familiar, because raccoons are strong, you know. They bend the trap doors pretty often on me. So I thought that looks like raccoon. And so we set the trap back up. Sure enough, raccoon hit it. But being in the neighborhood it's in, you know, like, I don't know. I'm reminded of Anya when I come across the raccoon, so I really look in this one's eyes, you know. Anya, the raccoon that was originally blind, who I believe went off to an acreage to be kind of a farm raccoon. Mahoney handled that. It wasn't my gig. Yeah, so that's kind of been my work of the last couple of days. Just checking out these flowers here at the edge of the wet meadows. This is the species that I stopped at maybe a couple of weeks ago and noted there was a patch here by the Russian olive tree on the wet meadows. It's a patch of this plant that it was flowering out a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't know what species it was, and I still don't. I still haven't figured it out, but it only flowered very briefly. Now this is what it looks like as it's going into seed. Yeah, let me get my selfie stick attached here, and I'll get to some more personal updates. Been a few years since I've seen one of these bad boys. This is a spurge hawk moth larva. And first time I ran into one, maybe 20 years ago out here, something like that. I seen it eating the leaves off the spurge, and I got all excited. I thought, oh, I've found the, the solution for the invasive leafy spurge. This was before I trained in the beaver bundle and kind of adopted a different ethics regarding these plants that we call invasives and such. Not just ethics, but understanding. These are just plants that the agricultural industry doesn't like, people. So whether they're native or not, they're either called invasive or noxious, and you're told to hate them because the farms hate them. Anyway, I got all excited when I came across a spurge hawk moth larva for the first time, and so I called the research station here in Lethbridge to kind of inquire about it, thinking I'd made this big discovery, and come to find out that no, they had actually been involved, I think in the 1980s or something like that, introducing the spurge hawk moth larva here, specifically to try to work with the leafy spurge. This is one of several species that have been introduced here, to try to eradicate invasives. We're bringing in more invasives or whatever. But I've never seen any of the birds eat any of these suckers. I don't know if they can, or if they're just loaded with poison because they've been eating leafy spurge or what. I don't know how the spurge reacts with birds. But I would think they'd be picking them off left and right. They used to be really prolific down here at the pond. I mean, for several years we had so many spurge hawk moth larvae. They were everywhere. But the last few years I've seen none, and it's pretty cool to see one today. So I'm going to leave him or her to their business. Interesting to come across a caterpillar, because this is kind of what I want to talk about, which is metamorphosis, and how strange my own life has become to me, and I'm sure everybody else, as I go through the transition, the personal transition that I'm going through, separating from Mahoney and now adopting a new family with Chelsea and the kids. So, don't think that this is in any way like this whole experience has been calm or settling to me, like it's a happy thing or anything like that. I have been at the highest level in my life for anxiety and stress, and just that daily feeling of shell shock, like, where am I? What am I doing? What's going on in my life? My friend, and that began before the stuff with Chelsea even began. Really, I think this transition for me has been going on for a few years, and might have been triggered by the traumas of 2015 or even earlier. Some things that happened even earlier than that. But in any case, yeah, it really does feel like I'm moving into a new major period of my life. and I have a choice really about, you know, who I want to be as I move into that, and what I want that life to be. And that's a project that, in at least some respects, is going to involve Chelsea's opinions too, right? And so, because we're kind of moving into something together, right? And this is, but at the same time, she's very interested in maintaining a level of independence such that, you know, we're not so reliant on each other that we you know, we have to be where we are. We just want to be where we are, right? So, and I'm cool with that. Although I think I've talked about it before, I find it's a really curious thing, this the, what would you call it, the kind of discourse around avoiding codependence, you know, that you hear in popular relational psychology today. Oh, there's just some white-tailed deer right on the other side of the brush from me here. And you're probably not going to be able to see them through the brush. Maybe you'll see them moving. They're very close. Any case, yeah, the thing about codependence, because that comes out of, you know, that concern comes out of experience with being dependent and then being put in danger because the relationship broke. Let's see if I can give you a little shot of her back there. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. She's like right back there over my shoulder, but I don't know if you'll be able to see her. I can't see her in the monitor myself. Just right there, just right there. Hold on, move a little forward here. Couple of does. Yeah, what was I talking about? I got all off track with the deer. Yeah, you know, just this transitional period, it's I feel like, you know, I'm at the end of it, which is good, but I also feel like I'm still in a huge danger zone. And that's that thing with that's what I was talking about, the codependence narrative, the danger stuff. Hey, it's being put in danger because your life is linked to somebody who, you know, and in the course of a separation, if that person decides to just fend for themselves and screw you over, you know, it sucks. And it sucks just being in the position of realizing that, you know, you had been so dependent on somebody, right? So the fact that this is a really popular cultural narrative, I think is interesting, because it means that the majority of the population has probably gone through something like this, where they've encountered the danger and they've been traumatized by it, and so now they don't want anything to do with that, and so they're striving for relationships where they're not fostering that kind of codependence. And, you know, looking at it, I don't think that's a new fear. You know, I think that goes way back. When I look at the old, I used to compare like classic Blackfoot stories and classic mainstream stories, and, you know, even like contemporary stuff. You find that in the mainstream, there's a real focus on the conflict of the story being something around a death. Either somebody's been murdered or somebody's gonna die, you know. There's always the big fear, the fear of death is at the heart of a lot of mainstream Western culture stories, European stories. In Blackfoot stories, the big conflict is usually surrounding some kind of betrayal inside of a relationship. Now, this might be a betrayal of somebody running off with a member of another species. It's often depicted as in the stories, you know, another species. These are symbols. And but in any case, it's a betrayal, usually a marriage betrayal, at the heart of a lot of the core stories. So that was the big fear. And I could see that in the past being a huge fear, because you really like living out here, if you were living out here as human beings and hunting those deer and, you know, eating these plants, you would be very dependent on your family unit and your closer kinship group, right, your clan. You'd be very dependent, and that dependency would be more celebrated, but it would still be the big fear, right? What if that goes away, that person goes away, and then that's the person I rely on the most, you know? And like for me in 2015, a lot of that kind of thing happened just out of deaths, you know. A lot of the people that I relied on the most left. So I can understand, you know, and it totally changed my life. It made me very vulnerable socially. Because these were big players in the Blackfoot community who departed, but who were close allies with me, and we worked together. A lot of my work, you know, came through those relationships. So it threw me for a loop. Maybe that was a, you know, significant part of what triggered me to seek some kind of change. I don't know, but it is what it is. And now I think it feels like I'm at the end of the metamorphosis, right? We're coming to it. I'm not right there yet, but we're getting there. And part of getting to the end of that is concluding the legality stuff with Mahoney. That is the current big threat for me, is just my financial future, which can be wrecked because I'm tied in to the mortgage with her and she's weaponized it, you know. Even if she was to retract now and say, you know, I'm sorry, you know, and that won't happen, I can't even risk it. I have to go through the legal procedure. I have to go through the divorce and the division of the property, and including the house, and have it settled so that so that I can have peace of mind in the new life that I'm transitioning into. And Mahoney too. She doesn't need that connection to me. You know, especially not the way that it's being played. At the same time, there's been something that's been bugging Mahoney and bugging certain members of her family for a while too. And, you know, that is my continued use of the family name Heavyhead, because that's not my maiden name, so to speak. When Mahoney and I got married, I took her name rather than she taking mine, because, you know, for many reasons, but I thought it was a better name. A more storied name, a Blackfoot name, more powerful name. And yeah, at that time I was transitioning into a new identity too. And so, you know, to some extent, I wanted to express that through through taking her name, you know, and people supported it while we were together. But since we've parted, you know, now there has been some pressure on me that I should, you know, let go of the name Heavyhead, you know, because I'm not a member of the family anymore, having separated. And so I'm probably going to be changing my name in the process of this divorce too, which is appropriate anyway, because I'm moving into and transitioning into a new part of life. It's time to change my name. I've done this before and it made sense before, and it makes sense now. And I don't mind it. It's just a matter of settling on a new name and making the change. You know, it's totally regular in Blackfoot tradition for people to change their name through their lifetime. In fact, men typically did change their name like 4 times even during their lifetime. So I don't mind. I'm gonna change my name. It's just, what is my name gonna be? You know, there's a little bit of pain in leaving the Heavyhead name behind, because, you know, I think I've added to it. You know, I think I've brought it some added public attention, and I've certainly tagged some stories on it. You know, I carried that name all the way through most of the repatriations that I did, bringing major bundles back to all 4 of the Blackfoot communities. Had that name while I ran the kind of studies program at Red Crow College, which became, you know, internationally celebrated. I've used that name as I've moved into transferring into the beaver bundle, becoming an Eochgimi, and applying the values, ethics, understandings from that tradition into a new kind of career, mitigating relationships between human beings and other species. All that time I've had that name, and I've kind of, you know, I brought some attention to that name. Like, people know that name in Lethbridge now in ways that they didn't know, and they know it beyond that, right? So there's a little bit of pain, but, you know, really in terms of tradition, it would be normal to leave that name, take a new name. I'm moving into a new phase of life. So, what am I going to do in that respect? I might pursue a new Blackfoot name. That's one avenue. Okay, pursue a new Blackfoot name and then use that as a surname. I've also considered just using my current Blackfoot name, which I really like and don't actually want to give up. But, you know, Akayokaki, which you see at the beginning of all my videos, Akayokaki is my Blackfoot name, my personal Blackfoot name. I've thought about taking that as my surname. It's being like Ryan Akayokaki. I could use one of my family names. I don't want my old name, Hancock, which is what I had as a kid. You know, but I do have some other family names, like I could use Reiko, which is kind of German, or I could use Armstrong, which is Irish Scottish. There's some family names that I could use, but I'm undecided. In any case, it's there, and I might, in terms of social media, change things up pretty quick, you know, while I'm trying to sort out what surname to take. I might, on my social media, change the name of the page. So don't be surprised if this page stops being called Ryan Heavyhead and just becomes like Akayokaki or something like that, or Ryan Akayokaki, something like that, you know, in the interim. Similarly on Facebook and all of that, Instagram and all of that stuff. yeah, just to decrease the tensions around that and start that transition. I might make that change in terms of what's going on online. So yeah, those are some of the things. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. I received a couple of inquiries this week from people who were interested in donating financially to some aspect of one of my projects or some aspect of my life where they know I'm financially burdened and that kind of thing. I do have a PayPal account for those who are interested in donating funds. Right now, definitely finances are my biggest concern and anxiety, really, because this thing, if it's not cleared up quickly with the mortgage in the house, is gonna make me have to claim bankruptcy. I don't make enough money, and I don't have enough resources to pay for the mortgage for that house on my own every month into the future, while also contributing to the household that I'm living in. And I gotta pay a lawyer $400 an hour. Those are my major expenses right now. But I've also got a lot of lesser expenses and some things that are gonna come on board for the future, I'm pretty sure, that are gonna be financially stressful. Somebody asked if they could donate some money toward the construction of a first aid kit for animals that I would have in my Jeep. Another individual asked if she could send me some money toward my move when I moved the other day, and she did send some money. So all of these kind of like donations definitely help. Right now, like I say, things are major, and I would never do a Fund Ryan's divorce campaign, but there's a lot of other stuff. Like right now I'm filming on this selfie stick with my iPhone. I want to get back to using the GoPro and using a better vlog camera. I think I'm going to need a new setup if I'm unable to find another microphone adapter, GoPro microphone adapter, because the only one that works with my camera is the one that's made by GoPro, and right now they're not available through them or through anybody. So if I want the qualities of my videos to maintain and improve, I might have to upgrade my equipment here really soon. That's going to be, you know, an under $1,000 expense, but it's coming. I'm also in need of some significant Jeep repair. I'm currently going through about 3.5 liters of oil every 2 weeks. So there's some major leaks and stuff going on in there. I know, you know, the Jeep is getting toward the end of its life, and I'm gonna have to think about getting a new vehicle soon too. But keeping this one going for the next little while would be very helpful. And so donations toward auto repair / maintenance, even the gas funds that I spend rolling around the city doing the wildlife work that I do, all that would be helpful. Financial resources to put toward the animal work in general. Like I need a lot of animal food. I need more enclosures, these kind of things, and just ways to make things more comfortable for the animals that I work with, even the ones that I'm, you know, trapping and that kind of thing. All of that would be helpful, you know. So if you are someone that's interested in donating toward any of my projects or toward any aspect of you know, what you know that to be going on in my life, then you can do that. I do have PayPal, like I said. You can send to akayokaki42@gmail.com through through the PayPal. That's my PayPal linked email address. Or I'm also on Patreon, even though I need to improve my work on Patreon, like my engagement with it, but I do have an account there. There are some people that donate to me just a small amount monthly, but those small amounts, when several people are doing it, really helps. There was a time over the winter when I first time ever withdrawing from my Patreon account, and it was nice to have even just a few $100 there, because it was survival money for me. So yeah, that's out there too. If you wanna help me in any way, that's the way I need help right now, is financially. You can also do that through sharing my videos, getting other people, share them on different platforms with different groups that you belong to, where you think there might be people interested in my wildlife work. The more subscribers that I have here on YouTube, the more of a little paycheck I can get through Google every month as well. So that helps me financially too, to like my stuff, watch it all the way through, share it with others, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's getting hot. I'm gonna retreat indoors to the house. This video is getting long, but it might get longer. We'll see what's up for tonight. I want to go to Sundance tonight, so we might not, unless snake calls come before I go, then this might be the end of the video, but who knows, anything can happen at any moment with the wildlife in Lethbridge, so I don't know what's in store for this afternoon. Yeah, but if there's nothing else, I'll see you again in a day or two.